All right, welcome in everybody to the Burgers Smokehouse Dance Class postgame show after I think inarguably Missouri's biggest win of the season, a 73-64 win in Knoxville, Tennessee over the number 6, well, no longer going to be number 6 Tennessee Volunteers. After the game, you'll hear from Cuonzo Martin in just a few minutes. He said a top 10 team won that game tonight, and he's right. I don't know if Missouri will be in the top 10 next week, but they're certainly in that range. They're in that discussion. We've spent a lot of time, most notably after the first Tennessee game this year, picking at the flaws of this team and talking about what they don't do well and all the reasons it could go wrong. Folks, they're 10-2. They're 4-2 in the league. They'd probably be at least 5-3, maybe 6-2 if they hadn't had a week canceled because of COVID. They're second in the league standings. They're going to be top 15 at a minimum, probably better. They have 4 true road wins. They have a neutral win. They have 5 quad 1 wins. They just beat the highest ranked team they've beaten on the road since January of 2012 when Kim English was a player for Missouri rather than an assistant coach on the other team. So my point in saying all that is tonight is the night. I think we quit looking for the flaws and we quit talking about what they don't do well. And we embrace the fact that we are watching one of the 10, 15, 20 best teams in the country. And that doesn't mean that, that they'll end the season there or that they're a Sweet 16 team or an Elite 8 team guaranteed. The tournament's a crapshoot. None of that is what I mean. But you have been starved for good basketball around here. You haven't seen very much of it lately. So enjoy that you are seeing it. Don't worry about next year. Don't worry about last year. Don't worry about what might happen in March against this team. I mean, enjoy it. This was a hell of a win by Missouri tonight. I don't know the last time they had a win this good. And look, Tennessee didn't play very well for the first 10 minutes. Not very well at all. But Missouri deserves some credit for that, I think. They went in a team that had embarrassed them, honestly, in Columbia. They went in and they took every shot that team had. Tennessee made that a game. I mean, they were down 15-5, and they could have mailed it in, and they didn't. They hit enough shots. They made it a 3-point game in the first half, and then Missouri, I think it was Drew Smith, hit a couple big shots. And then they made it a 4-point game in the second half, and Xavier Pinson hit a couple of big shots, and Kobe Brown got some huge rebounds. And, I mean, this was a big statement for this Missouri team. This is the type of game this team hasn't won in a long time. Like I said, January 21st, 2012, they beat number 3 Baylor. It's the last conference road win over a ranked team they had. This is the first time they've beaten an SEC team that was ranked on the road. Now, to be fair, SEC's been down. There haven't been a ton of opportunities, but there have been opportunities, and Missouri has not done it. So appreciate everybody that's here. We're already up over 100 people. I hope more of you are going to come. Please, your comments, your questions, everything, put it in the chat. We will get to it. We're going to take calls in a few minutes. But the first thing we always do here, well, I got one thing I got to do before we hear from Cuonzo Martin. I got to let you know about Burger Smokehouse. They sponsor this show every single basketball game. The logo's up in the right-hand corner of the screen there. You can go to smokehouse.com. You can get all of their products in grocery stores all across the state. They've got ham and sausage and pork and brisket and ribs, and it's all great stuff. The bacon is great. I've got some bacon actually in my fridge. I'm going to cook tomorrow. So Burger Smokehouse, they make everything we do here possible. They've been loyal to us throughout football season, throughout basketball season. They are the official Smokehouse of Mizzou Athletics, and they sponsored this show every week. So make sure to give them a click or pick some stuff up at the grocery store. Again, smokehouse.com. Appreciate everything they've done for us. Like I said, now, the first thing we do on this show every week, or every night after the game is We Play You Cuonzo Martin's press conference. He was coming to us from a locker room in Knoxville. So you hear from the coach. It's about 10, 11 minutes. We'll come back. We'll take your calls. We'll talk all about it.
Cuonzo, I know you told us the other day that you wanted X to, look to score a little bit more. I guess was that the big difference for him tonight, or what did you kind of notice about his performance?
I thought he played well. He scored the ball, but he was downhill. The biggest key and part of our game plan is have to get downhill, get in the paint, make plays. And X is effective when he's going north and south and attacking. When he's east and west, just moving the ball side to side, he's not a server, he's not aggressive. We need him a downhill making plays, and he was good. But more than that, I thought it was one of his better defensive efforts, man. He took pride in defending, working hard. And I think I don't think in the past he's been as committed defensively. I thought he took a tremendous amount of pride embracing the challenge defensively. And that kind of set the tone for us. And offensively, he played well. It set another tone, and other guys made plays.
Dave?
Cuonzo, going into this one, what did you guys want to do defensively, and how do you explain all those steals early on? What was working for you?
Well, again, you have to give all the credit to Tennessee beating us at our place. They won the game. But that wasn't us as a team, and our guys knew that, and it was a hard pill for me to swallow, just on a toughness standpoint. You're gonna lose some games. We allowed them to move the ball. Everything you can think of, they did it, and it was just practice for them. And our guys saw that, they understand that, and we set a tone, getting in the passing lanes, being aggressive. If they were going to beat us, they were going to beat us playing the way we wanted to dictate tempo, aggressive, get in their face, making them make plays, catching the ball out, and then trying to make one-on-one plays. And I thought our guys did a great job embracing that challenge because they have a lot of guys that can make plays off the dribble.
Ben Frederickson?
Coach, kind of body of work. I know you're not going to sweat the rankings too much, but in terms of quad one wins, you guys have, I think, as many as anybody in the country but Gonzaga right now. Kind of big picture here, what do you think this says about your team's ceiling and what you guys can do when you're playing the way that you know you can play?
I think the biggest key is just if we take care of the ball, then we're as good as anybody. I think that's the big thing. And we're starting to make our threes. If you're able to make consistent threes, and we don't need to shoot a lot of them, but if you're able to make consistent threes, especially the way Tilly's playing, he didn't score a lot, but we knew how they would defend him. Doubles coming all over the place, and other guys made plays. But we take care of the basketball. We make consistent threes, and we defend how we normally defend. I like our chances against anybody. And then you're talking quad wins. Like I said to our guys, a top 10 team won the game today. And I truly feel that because I've watched these rankings and I don't get consumed with it. And all of a sudden you got a team that jump and win this game, win that game. And all of a sudden, I'll see how we jump. I'll see how we jump. I just think if you're going to do your job, do it the right way. And we've earned it against the top 10 team in a tough environment. We won the basketball game. And it's my fight for our players from that standpoint because they earned it. And they've come a long way. They put the time into it, they put the work into it. So hopefully people do the right things and recognize the work we've put in.
Gabe?
You mentioned Jeremiah didn't score a lot, but what did you think of his game defensively? I mean, Fulkerson was almost no factor until mid-second half.
Well, it's just Fulkerson is a talented player, but it's amazing how the mind, the strength of the mind or lack thereof, or what you tell yourself. And I just simply said to Jeremiah, now, I want you to think about something, Jeremiah. And I said it to our big guys. Fulkerson is a good player. He's a fifth-year senior. I said, but Jeremiah, you 260 pounds. Fulkerson is 215, maybe 220 pounds. Just think that for a minute. I said, you have to dominate the game. Whether you score on the ball, you have to put so much pressure on him physically that eventually he gives in and other stuff happens. And I think it's just that simple because sometimes people come in a reputation, and if you respect that reputation, you can fall short. But I think Jeremiah really understood, and I'm just as strong as anybody in this league, man. And I'll put pressure, and I think he did just that the whole night. And we knew they'd send a double all kind of ways. He knew that. And he embraced it, found the right guys, and other guys made plays. And in the process, the one thing we've been looking for a long time, for those other guys to get offensive rebounds. And I thought Kobe, Mitch, and Javon got timely rebounds because of the work Tillman was putting in.
Eric?
Cuonzo, I'm not sure you can score 18 points quietly, but it seems like Drew kind of did that in this game. What did you see from his game that allowed you guys to win this?
He's been at his best the last, I guess, A&M, was A&M starting in South Carolina. He's been at a high level because his production again, and I said all the time, like a Jonte Porter, those guys perform on both ends of the floor, and that's his gauge. He's doing a great job defending, shutting guys down, and he's scoring the ball. But the biggest thing offensively, he just shot ready. For whatever reason, I don't know why he wasn't ready to shoot the ball in those past games. Like he was looking to pass the ball. It's like, man, we need you to score the ball. So that's the adjustment. It's not as if we had a sit down meeting or anything. It's just, man, you got to be ready to shoot the ball and score. And defensively, he does what he does.
Colin.
Hey, Cuonzo, there was a period there under the 10-minute mark. Tennessee started taking better care of the ball, and then they hit 4 out of 5 threes, something like that. What sort of adjustments did you make to your coverages and how you guys were defending the three-point line, if any?
I'll stick to it. You know, again, it's a good team, so something's going to give. We just knew what we weren't giving up. And if some of those guys that made threes, okay, they'll make their three, but stay consistent with what we're doing, and we'll play the percentages. Because when you get to this point, you're talking top 15, top 10, top 5, something has to give at some point. And we just stayed sound in our game plan. We carried it out.
Sweetie.
Guys, I believe you kept saying that that first Tennessee game, they were just more tough than you guys. From a toughness perspective tonight, just how did you feel about your team? Just rebounding, defense, all those things
good.
kind of go into it.
Good. That was, again, like I say to our guys, I don't need to look at the scoreboard to see how we played. I know how we played. I didn't have to look up. I knew how we played. We set a tone. We were physical. We were aggressive. We played the way we played, and that's the result of it. And again, like I said, that game there just. That's one to keep on file. Hope you never have to utilize it again, but you keep it on file just to remember.
Jack.
Cuonzo, a couple times this season, X has followed up.
All right, guys. Cuonzo talked for a few more minutes, but I'm going to be honest. Things kind of went downhill after that. You guys heard the important stuff, the relevant questions, the good answers about tonight. You guys heard, I think, what you needed to hear. And there's a bunch of comments, there's a bunch of people here. So rather than you guys listening to some stuff that honestly was kind of hit and miss and didn't really matter, we're going to open up the phone line. There's the number, 573-234-4935. You can call me at that number. I've got it open. I will take your calls. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about as it relates to this game. But until we have calls, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And right down there, the last line there to my right, you can see they never trailed. They led for 39 minutes and 25 seconds. In the game against South Carolina on, Tuesday night, Missouri never trailed and led for 39 minutes and 7 seconds. It means they played 2 games, 80 minutes. They have led for 78 minutes and 32 seconds. That's as dominant as you can get. We're going to jump to the phone lines, 847 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hello?
Hey, who am I talking to? How you doing?
Hey, Gabe, it's Andrew in Chicago. How we doing, man?
Not bad. Doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. I got 2 questions for you. I got a Mizzou basketball question and then just a general Mizzou question.
Okay.
All right, basketball question. Do you think any of these guys that are going to get an extra year of eligibility, whether it's your Mitch Smith, Tillman, Pinson, any of those guys, do you think they may come back for another year?
It's possible. Cuonzo said earlier in the year he didn't really expect it. I think Drew Smith can make money playing basketball somewhere. I think Jeremiah Tillman can make money playing basketball somewhere, even if it's not in the NBA. I know he's got a family to support. I guess Mark Smith could come back. Mitchell Smith could come back. I don't know necessarily what the roles for. I mean, Mark Smith they would both contribute next year, but I think you really got to kind of count on not. I think the main goal for this team really should be convincing X Pinson to come back for another year.
Yeah, I agree. He continues to just kind of exceed everyone's expectations. All right, Mizzou question. All right, you got a quick picnic. You can either go to the Columns or Peace Park. Where are you going?
I mean, it's got to be the Columns. Like, there's not as much shade, but you go to the Columns because that's like the picture you got to take in Columbia. So, do that.
All right.
I mean,
All
I
right,
would go to
thank you.
Logboat and have a beer out on their lawn. But if you're giving me those options, go to the Columns. All right, Andrew, appreciate the call, man. We got some other people on the line. I got somebody from the 314 area code. Who's on the line?
Hello.
How you doing? Who am I talking to?
Good. This is Demetrius.
What's up, Demetrius? How you doing, man? Are we ready to jump?
Great. I'm great.
Are we ready to jump on board now?
Last time I did, I called in after the Illinois game.
Yep.
I was on board. Then we went into the slump. So I'm gonna hop back on and we see what happens. Great game by the backcourt with Drew Smith and Pinson.
Yep.
But I got a man crush on my boy Kobe Brown, man. He made some big plays, that big 3-pointer, a few offensive rebounds to extend possessions.
Yep.
I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Kobe Brown.
And did all of it after getting clubbed in the head there in the second half. Honestly, was pretty impressive. And real quick, I just want to tell everybody, hey, if you're on hold, if you're calling in and you're hearing me talk, just wait. We got a bunch of calls. I'll get to you. No, Kobe Brown I thought was fantastic in the second half, and Cuonzo pointed out, and actually a lot of those plays he's made in the last couple games have come off Tillman keeping things alive. I mean, Jeremiah didn't put up huge numbers tonight, but he was incredibly important again, and I thought played another really good game.
I agree. I mean, with Jeremiah, if we get that Jeremiah, X, and Drew as our, quote unquote big three,
yep.
we cooking with gas, man. We actually cooking with gas. So proud of the guys tonight. I'm taking a beating on the board, but if I take a beating and Mizzou win, hey, it's a win. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, great show. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it, Demetrius.
I'll let you after the next big win.
All right, man. Thanks. Good. Always good to hear from you. Let's go 870 area code. Who's there?
You know what? Hey, let me just say with the last caller, if you say our 2 losses is a slump, after recent years, we would have taken that any day of the week. But let me start off with saying is you opened the show, and I got about 2 pages of notes, so just work with me real quick here. You said that don't worry about next year, don't worry about the years to come, and that's very understood because right now what we are seeing is team cohesion and experience really flourish in this team. And you said you opened up and you said you don't remember the last big Mizzou win like this. I mean, honestly, how hyped were we for the Illini win because of where they were ranked and we weren't ranked. So, but after that win, they went into and they kind of stumbled. They weren't playing the best basketball with Bradley. They got out with that, and then. With Tennessee, and then they both against. Very confident, at least I was, and that's the last time I actually called in. But I say they can absolutely now. When I called in after the Illini game, I was like, they can absolutely win the SEC. Well, when I saw the Tennessee game, I kind of put my foot in my mouth and I wrapped it in bacon and I dipped it in butter, just so it tastes a little better. But they've come out and they advance, after going to MIA during Mississippi, but the game tonight was reinvigorating to my vision that they can compete in the SEC, and that's what we got to worry about. Tillman just needs to learn how to dunk the dang basketball on breaks, but to not be to not to be which they don't need to be a team that they're not, which was when they panicked against Tennessee before, they were just taking all sorts of threes they couldn't. But tonight they knew they could take threes and they took them. And this game was won in the first, 10 minutes. When they took that 10-point lead, they just never looked back. And by beating Tennessee in Tennessee, they showed my vision, which was, hey, let's win the SEC and worry about everything else after that. Hey, my man, M-I-Z-Z-O-U. And I got one more question. The big thing was when they beat Illinois and they weren't ranked, we were all saying, rank us. Where are we going to be ranked? Mizzou's going to be ranked. That was the Christmas present.
Yeah.
Well, we've been ranked for the last few weeks. We just beat Tennessee. We're number 19. Hey, Gabe, what do you got? What we got now?
I know they're going to be in the top 15. I don't know who's lost in front of them. I think they deserve to be somewhere between 10 and 12, probably. But I don't know. I haven't looked at it necessarily what's happened in front of them. Guaranteed they'll be top 15 on Monday. And they could be up top 12. So appreciate the call, man.
Hey.
I got some other people on the line. I'm going to move on to the 815 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, it's Ron. How's it going?
What's up, Ron? How you doing, man? Appreciate you being patient and hanging on there.
Oh, not a problem, man. Heck of a win. As you kind of put it into context, you got to go a long ways back to think of the last win of this magnitude here. And a few callers ago pointed out something I was going to mention. I know that X and Drew Smith did a lot of the heavy lifting, but Tillman, despite him having limited numbers compared to these last couple games, like I think he did have a monster game, even though it didn't really show up in the stat sheet. And when those three guys are clicking, I really have a hard time seeing who can beat him, unless of course it's Alabama and they rain in 20 plus threes. That you can't really do anything about that. But in the event there's a normal basketball game, those three guys clicking, I think Mizzou's got a chance to make a really deep run. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what happens Tuesday night at Auburn because Sharif Cooper has changed that team. It's a back-to-back road games. That'll be interesting to see. I mean, here's what we've seen in the SEC. Everybody is beatable. I mean, even Alabama, like I understand they're playing ridiculously well right now, but they were 5-3 in the non-conference and lost to Western Kentucky. So on any given night, like the second place team can lose to the 12th place team in this league. I would say Missouri, the clear goal is this: be in the top 4 in this league. Get that double bye in the conference tournament. Put yourself in position to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, this team clearly should be favored, not just should make the tournament, but should be favored to win at least a game in the NCAA tournament, maybe 2. So yeah, I mean, look, there's teams out there that can be. I mean, I don't know if you've watched Gonzaga or Baylor. I wouldn't be picking Missouri against them. But as far as the SEC goes, I mean, like Cuonzo said tonight. He said the difference with this team is they know they've got enough pieces to win every game they play. Like there's nobody that scares them. They can go out and play with anybody. Now we've also seen them at their worst. Like they play the way they did against Tennessee. Dude, Vandy will beat them.
Right.
But that's true of every team. I mean, that's why they play. And I think this team's clear goal should be like 13-5 and top 2 or 3 spots in this league.
Yeah, good deal. And thanks for answering my question. I'm going to ask you another one and hang up and listen. But I saw an interesting poll earlier today, before the game. So maybe this skews the results a little bit. But who would win on the court? Cuonzo's first team, sans a healthy Michael Porter Jr. Versus this team. I think the basketball skill, I think maybe a little bit lean towards the Cuonzo's first year, but the toughness that this team has showed, I would have a hard time picking against them. So I'll hang up. Thanks for all that you did.
All right, Ron, appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I really liked Cassius Robertson as a player, and with Jonte, I'd probably lean toward the first team, but this team's going to be seated higher in the NCAA tournament than that one was. Going back to the 314 area code, and once again, I've got 3 or 4 of you on hold. If you're listening to me talk, I'll call out your area code when I get there. I do appreciate it. But 314 area code, who am I talking to? 314, you out there? Hey, what's going on?
Hey, this is Phil. You remember me from way back when, Phil Laposa.
Oh, yeah, Phil. How you doing, man? Good to hear from you.
I'm good, man. Just want to ask you, what does it take to get over the top here? What is the X factor for you?
As far as over the top in what regard?
How do we get to the Final Four?
Oh, now see, here's the interesting thing, and I'm a terrible person to ask this question. because I don't judge seasons by what happens in the NCAA tournament because it's such a crapshoot. I mean, a lot of Missouri fans think the 2002 team was one of the best teams in school history. It was one of the most disappointing seasons Missouri's ever had. They started the season ranked 4th, and they were the last team to make the tournament. They got hot and won 3 games at the right time and got to the Elite 8. And that can happen. So, I mean, the Final Four, it just depends on what a matchup is. I mean, you know, if you get a 5 seed and you're running into Gonzaga in the second or the third round, like, you're probably not making it. But if you play in a region where the number 1 seed might get upset, you get the right breaks. Like, the 4 best teams don't make the Final Four. So that the tournament is always a crapshoot, and it's always about matchups and getting a little bit lucky and playing well at the right time. I mean, but what I'll say is this team, like, can this team make the Final Four? Of course they can, because what it takes is winning 4 games in a row. Well, look, Missouri won 6 straight games to start the season. That included a win over Oregon on the or in the neutral site, a win over Illinois, a win on the road at Wichita State. Those are 3 games that are every bit as tough as any 3 they would face in a row before the Final Four. So can they make it? Absolutely, they can make it. But the key to having the best shot to make it is putting yourself in position by being, you know, a top 4 seed. Basically, because that means you should make the Sweet 16, and then it's a 2-game season.
All right, awesome, man. I appreciate it. You know,
appreciate the call, man.
You're doing a great job here, so thank you.
Good to hear from you, Phil. Thanks, man. Hope everything's going well. All right, last one I got on hold right now is in the 301 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, it's Jacob from D.C. Thank you so much for staying up late with all of us today.
Well, it's later for you than it is for me. So.
Absolutely. But, you know, when you beat Tennessee on the road, you be sure to stay up and, you know, get your inane questions in.
There you go.
So my the one thing that I was thinking today as I'm watching X score almost 20 points in the first half is the only thing I know for certain about this team is that someone is going to show up and have a fantastic game. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to come, but I know for certain that someone is going to show up and do it. So my question to you is, beyond winning, which is obviously something that we should not take for granted.
Right.
What are the consistent strands that we're seeing? I'm identifying like Kobe Brown's rebounding, Mitchell Smith's defense, dare I say, Drew Smith's three-point shot, which has gotten a little bit more consistent. Are there any other threads you're seeing in why this team is winning consistently?
I think it's a few things. I think it is the defense, just in general. I mean, look, some of those turnovers early, like Tennessee just kicked the ball around. Some of those Missouri didn't have a lot to do with, but some of them Missouri had a lot to do with, you know, and I think deserves credit for. I think what I would say is Jeremiah Tillman's general impact on the game. I mean, he is the guy that coming in, opposing teams have to say, okay, how do we stop this? And the reason Drew Smith is making some of those threes, the reason Kobe Brown is getting some of those rebounds is because of Tillman and how worried other teams are about him. And then number 3, like, and this really probably should be number 1. It's this team has taken some hits and some bruises over the last couple years that they are now toughened. They are a tough team. I mean, Tennessee came back and made that a 4-point game. And in the past, Missouri maybe folds. 2 weeks ago, they folded at Mississippi State, right? So it's not going to work every time. But tonight, somebody had an answer every night. They're the 8th most experienced team in the country. They've got guys who have been there. Tillman said last week, somebody asked him what they learned from the Mississippi State loss. And he said, you know, man, we're too old to be learning from losses. Like, we know what we did. We got to go fix it. It's not about learning. It's about fixing it. And I thought that was a pretty good point by him. And a guy that's, you know, nobody's more emblematic of him. He's turned into the most consistent and a leader on this team. And I don't think that's anything anybody saw coming from Jeremiah 2 years ago.
No, I mean, so happy for him and his family that, you know, he gets this opportunity to be in the spotlight and sort of realize his potential. And following up on your point, you know, you don't have to fear Tillman or game plan for Tillman when he's on the bench with two fouls, you know, 10 minutes into the first half. So just the fact that he's able to be on the floor for 30 minutes a game is a huge factor.
And I think it's going to happen at some point. Like, he's going to have a game like that. But, you know, also this year, I've been pretty impressed with the refs in league play. They've been letting these dudes play. I mean, he threw E. Ponce to the ground at one point with 2 minutes left in the first half. He probably should have got a foul for that one. He didn't, you know. But the South Carolina game, I mean, that was a war. They were just beating the crap out of each other, and the refs let it go. And basketball's more fun to watch when you're not stopping it every 12 seconds.
Absolutely, for everyone except Rick Barnes, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think Rick was probably thrilled with that particular call tonight. But if they call games that way, Rick's teams are going to do really well in the long run.
Yeah. So one final question before I hang up and listen, Gabe. I could not help but notice Mitchell 40 when he called in, no Power Mizzou background. Can we get the long-awaited update on Mitchell's Power Mizzou background?
It is in his possession. He is waiting for the stand so that it will actually function. So he does have one. He just needs the stand to go with it.
Well, good to know.
We're
Good
hoping
to know.
by
I'll
Wednesday.
hang up and
We're
listen,
hoping
Gabe.
by Wednesday night. All right, thanks, Jacob. Appreciate the call, man. All right, so hey, if you want to call in, now's the time. The phone lines are open. We had kind of a flood, and I appreciate everybody, all the patience there, waiting for me to sort through them. But we had the flood of calls. If you want to call in now, you will immediately get on. We'll immediately talk about the game and whatever's on your mind, because the phone lines are open. But anyway, as I was saying before we started talking on the phone, in the last two games, Missouri has led for 78 minutes and 32 seconds. They have trailed for 0 seconds. This is a dominant team right now, guys, and not against, like, the A&M win. I didn't put a ton of stock in that because A&M's not good. South Carolina is not a bad team. They're not great, but they've got NCAA tournament hopes. And Missouri jumped on them from the tip and just never gave up. Tennessee, that's a good basketball team. I know they didn't look very good tonight, but guess what? 3 weeks ago, Missouri looked like garbage against that team, and that team, we walked away from game one thinking that was a Final Four team. This is basketball. It happens. Tennessee's going through a little bit of a slump right now. I'm willing to bet Tennessee at the end of this year is in the top 4 in this league. And maybe they may finish second. I think Alabama's got such a big lead that it's going to be tough for Alabama to blow it. It's not impossible, but I think it's going to be tough. But Tennessee's a good basketball team, and Missouri handled them. I mean, they were out, I think it was 17-5. I think the lead grew 23-10 was the biggest in the first half. Got to 23-10. Tennessee came back and made a game. And then Missouri got back up and punched back and stretched it out again. Tennessee got it back to 3 or 4 points again. Missouri stretched it out again. Never gave up the lead. I'm pretty sure Tennessee never had the ball with the chance to tie or lead. But heck of a game, start to finish. Let's go to the 618 area code. Who am I talking to in the 618?
Hey, Gabe, this is Travis in Southern Illinois.
What's up, Travis? How you doing, man? Good to hear from you.
Hey, doing all right. Happy about the Mizzou win. It's been an awesome year. I'm just wondering, do you think this is, I mean, obviously with such a great year, do you think it's going to be an aberration or is it sustainable, kind of the future of Mizzou basketball? Obviously, Cuonzo isn't going anywhere. Just
right.
Where do you think we're heading after this year?
I mean, the roster next year is going to have a lot of questions. There's no doubt about it. I think a big part of it is what Xavier Pinson decides to do. I mean, it's kind of been a foregone conclusion that he's probably going to be gone after this year. But if maybe you can convince him that, hey, come back next year and you can have a year like Tillman's having, you know, so that's part of it. And I understand next year is looming and it's probably a step back. And I understand that factors into a lot of people's thinking. But, you know, at the start of the show, I just kind of said, I think it's been long enough. Like, you've had one decent basketball team to follow in 7 years, right? I kind of think that Missouri fans should take the attitude of let's worry about that team. And I understand your question, Travis, and I'm not trying to dodge it because it is valid. But I think Missouri fans have been so starved for good basketball for so long that don't miss this team by looking forward to and worrying about what next year could be. I mean, enjoy this team however long it lasts, whether that's first round or Final Four or whatever it is. Don't miss the enjoyment of whatever this season is going to be, because I think we found out over the last few years, like, it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen. If you're my age, you grew up just assuming Missouri was playing in the NCAA tournament most years. And people who are younger than me do not assume that. So make sure to enjoy every bit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm 37, so I've seen a lot of good Mizzou basketball, bad recently. But, I mean, thinking top 15, I'm also thinking maybe some transfers might be looking Mizzou's way, you know.
And they're actually in a good position as far as transfers, because they can not only say, hey, we're a pretty good team, they can also say we lose a lot and you can play right away. So it's actually not a bad spot to be in, trying to pick up a couple transfers this spring. That's a good point.
All right, awesome, Gabe. Thanks for everything. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Travis. Thanks for the call, man. Let's jump now. Got a couple people on hold. We're going to the 314 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe. This is Jordan.
What's up, Jordan? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in.
Yeah. So, you know, I haven't seen every game this season, but I've watched quite a lot more lately. Just curious, how do you think Tillman played tonight compared to the rest of the season?
I mean, he wasn't as dominant, obviously, as he's been the last 4 or 5 games, right? But I think a big part of that is because of Tennessee's game plan. And they came into this game saying, whatever happens, it's not going to be Jeremiah Tillman that beats us. I mean, he was getting 2 or 3 guys coming at him on most offensive possessions. I thought he did a nice job keeping some balls alive that Kobe Brown and other players chased down. I thought he was great on defense. He had a couple block shots. He had a steal. John Fulkerson was an absolute train wreck for about the first 25 minutes of that game, and that's an all-SEC level player. Yves Pons scored, but to score, honestly, he mostly had to go shoot threes. I mean, he made 3 threes that I think accounted for 9 of his 18 or something like that. So I thought Tillman had a great game that probably won't look like a great game in the box score.
Awesome. Thanks, Gabe.
All right. Appreciate the call, Jordan. Thanks a lot, man. We're going next to the 417 area code. Who's in the 417?
Hey, Gabe, it's Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're there, Mark. What's up, man?
Yeah, just a comment and a question. The comment is the insanity of fans, of which I'm one of them, where from week to week or month to month, there's players I just can't stand to watch play. And Tillman was in that category, and then all of a sudden I just love watching him play.
Yeah.
And, you know, Pinson had 3 games where you're like, he's not trying. You know, did he have COVID or what's wrong with him? And then all of a sudden he comes out tonight and just lights it up. So it's good that you have coaches that aren't like fans. And I'm going to be a fan, and I'm a crazy fan, and I know it. And I'm so happy they don't think like us. So my question is, Cuonzo continues to seem to lobby to get his team ranked higher. What's up there? Because that's unusual for him.
It is a little bit. I mean, he did it tonight, I think, kind of because he was almost specifically asked about it. I mean, he wasn't specifically asked about rankings, but he was asked about the ceiling for his team and all that. And I think he knows it is important to his players. I mean, it does matter to the kids. And it also matters in terms of when your number goes across the ticker, you know, or when your name goes across the ticker, when your score scrolls across the bottom of the screen, what number's next to it? And recruits and transfers and kids do notice that. So I think he's playing a bit of a PR game, which is good. It's not something, like you said, it's not something he does a lot, but I think it's a good thing, actually.
That's all I got. Thanks.
All right, Mark, appreciate the call, man. And hey, I got to give Mark a shout out. I mean, I will never chastise any fan who recognizes that, hey, what I'm saying and how I'm acting is not rational. That's cool. I mean, I'm going to do I'm probably going to say some dumb things between about 5:40 and 9 o'clock tomorrow night, right? It's what we do as fans. But as long as you recognize it's not rational. All right, 660 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, it's JoJo.
What's up, JoJo? How you doing, man?
I am doing well. So I was thinking during the game that Mizzou's progression since Cuonzo's been here is actually fairly similar to Rick Barnes at Tennessee. If you take out the Porter years and selling out that first year to go after that insane class, which to this day I still regret. But no, so like I was thinking about that and just if you saw those same type of parallels and if that was kind of the ceiling for Cuonzo here at Mizzou, that Rick Barnes kind of.
It's an interesting point. I mean, I think very highly of Rick. He's in like year 27. He's got more. He had more of a track record before he got to Tennessee than Cuonzo did before he got to Missouri. I mean, that's that's it. That's just being truthful about it. The point you bring up is pretty interesting. That first year set us up to look at Cuonzo's career here in a way that probably wasn't fair, because like NCAA tournament year one, but like that year shouldn't even exist in our minds. It was just a whole separate deal. So basically, this is year 3. Year 1 wasn't very good. Year 2 wasn't very good. Now, year 1 wasn't very good in large part because of injury. Year 2, I just didn't think they had the guys last year. I don't blame injuries as much last year. But now year 3, you've got a top 10, top 15 team that's in the tournament. So now the question will then become in years 4, 5, and 6, like, is this something that becomes regular, or is this something that you're looking at every 3 years? Because Cuonzo's career so far says this is something you're looking at once every 3 years. So we'll see. I think next year and the year after are big and ultimately what we judge. But you're right in that year 1 just set up these expectations that were just – they were never realistic. That was always this whole separate, just kind of one-off, just, hey, go all in. See, and the worst part about that year was they went all in, and it really didn't work. I mean, it didn't do anything for them in the end. They had to do it. I understand why they did it. It just didn't work out. But this is the team he's been building to, but the key now is to sustain it at this level rather than going back down and have to come back up. Because Missouri has had some pretty high highs in basketball over the last 20 years. They've just never sustained it. So now we got to see if Cuonzo can sustain it.
And I mean, I'm interested to see, just because Cuonzo's never been anywhere more than 3 years, and so he's had these real rebuilding projects where you instill the culture, go through that with other people's players, add a dash of your own. And so with him being here for a while, I'm interested to see if he's able to be more consistent, because you're right, he hasn't been up to this point. But I think someone posted on the board, or I posted on the board, but it was about a recruit that was out of Arkansas, and he was like the definition of a Cuonzo guy. And if we can start getting those really talented guys who have that mindset, kind of like Coach Rick Barnes has done, I think we have a chance to really build something. So I'm just hoping to God he can follow through on that at this point.
Yep, definitely got to go get some guys, because you don't win anything that matters without them in college basketball, man. JoJo, appreciate the call, man. I got somebody else on hold, so I'm going to let you go, but thanks for sticking around and staying up with me.
Oh, yeah, no problem. You have a great day, man.
All right, you too. Got the 901 area code. Thanks for holding, man. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, this is Ryan.
What's up, Ryan? How you doing?
So, Gabe, not much of a Mizzou fan, not much of a basketball fan, honestly. I was on YouTube and found this live stream and was listening, and you sounded great, kept listening, very good content. And if I remember from back in my day when I watched basketball, is Mizzou still rivals with Kansas? That's all I know.
Well, not really, because they're not in the same conference and they don't play anymore. So they haven't played in 8 years.
Anymore?
Yeah, Missouri's in the SEC.
That's honestly all I was curious about.
Okay. Appreciate the call, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good one. Thanks for checking us out, though. That's awesome. We are attracting non-basketball fans from across YouTube, guys. This is truly a historic moment in our show. This is we are like a cross multimedia sensation, So anyway, good stuff. Yeah, Mizzou 73-64 winner. Got to catch my breath and reset here at Tennessee. I think by far the biggest win of the season. I mean, I understand earlier somebody was saying Illinois, but this is a league win, and this is on the road. You've beaten Illinois before. You've done that. You haven't done this. You haven't beaten a top 10 team on the road in league play in 9 years. That was, like I said, at number 3 Baylor. I mean, when Kim English and Marcus Denman were players, so unbelievably impressive. We're going back to the phone lines, the 314 area code. Who are we talking to?
Hey, it's Tyler here.
All right, Tyler. Now you're an actual Missouri basketball fan, not just a guy who randomly ran across our show on YouTube like the last one, right?
I am. I think I've listened to every single stream. So
awesome, man. Appreciate
big fan and always checking it out. Awesome win tonight. Really just excited for that. I one comment and then kind of one question. The comment is, I think this team, more than anything, the key, because it could be other, different players that we see step up, but it's just that I don't know if it's pace, but it's attacking.
Yes.
And I thought the announcers actually picked up on it at the beginning of the game with Pinson about going north and south, but it's really the whole team. And, that doesn't mean that they're running as fast, up and down the court every time. So the pace numbers may not be as good, but when they're attacking and when, and I think tonight showed, they had more points in the paint than Tennessee did at Tennessee. And so and Tennessee is as good of a defense with this as almost in the country. So it should show this team and everyone that, look, you can attack in the paint versus anyone, and you got to go. And when they do that, then, their other shots open up and everything works around that. So that's the one comment. And then the question I had was, I thought they're, obviously the first half was very impressive and they hit some threes that they don't usually always hit. But the second half, I think, was almost just as impressive to me, just in terms of the energy, again, that they kept having. And, Tennessee tried to have a couple runs and Mizzou did a good job of answering. So the question is, were you more impressed maybe with the first half in the start or the second half for Mizzou to be able to kind of continue to respond, not shooting necessarily as well the second half, but still keep that distance?
Yeah, I thought Mizzou won this game in the first 8 minutes of the second half because, Tennessee, like I said, Missouri deserves credit for coming out and playing well, but Tennessee did a lot to dig that 23-10 hole. There were some plays that Missouri had little to do with. They were just kicking the ball all over the place. And then they kind of got their wits about them and got their feet under them and made a game of it. And that game at halftime was a 6-point game, and you thought, as bad as Tennessee played, I bet they feel pretty good to only be down 6 points. So then you come out at the start of the second half, and if Tennessee scores the first 4 points of that second half, this thing could be completely different. But Missouri didn't let that happen. Missouri came out and started the second half basically the same way it started the first half, got that lead out to 13, and then Tennessee just had to work so hard, like you said, to get it back to like a 1 or 2 possession game. That now I'd say, I don't know if it was more impressive, but I thought when they won the game was the first 8 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, nope, I agree with that. Thanks again for doing this each week. Really enjoyed, and go Mizzou and go Pack Go tomorrow. So
all right, man. Well, I'm fine with them winning that game. Yeah, it's the other game I'm interested in, but appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. All right, let's go to the 417 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, Tucker here down in Joplin.
What's up, Tucker? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm great. Great Saturday night. Big win for the Tigers.
Very big, yeah.
So kind of a couple comments, and they're kind of going to lead into a question here too. But, ever since Cuonzo's been at Mizzou, he's, for the most part, on the sidelines, pretty animated, pretty intense. But, tonight, I don't know if you agree or not, but I thought he was even more like, this was like he wanted this one bad. And I heard him on the post game with Mike Kelly, and, Cuonzo's classy, so he, of course, dismissed the part about, him having a grudge with Tennessee or whatever. But he wanted this one bad. And I've also noticed, I think more so than other years, that he's been on the officials a little more this year. Now, he's still not like the type that's going to whine constantly and stuff, but this year it seems like he's been more animated. I don't know if that's just maybe because he's got a better team or if it's something where, he never really shows his ass, but he does seem a little bit more engaged with the officials this year. Just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think maybe it's more noticeable because, there's not very many other people on the sidelines and all the chairs are spread out. So I think we probably pay more attention to him because, You can't take any shots of the crowd. There's nothing else going on. What are you going to look at besides the coach between plays? So he's always been like that. I mean, that dude, he's not quite Buzz Williams, but like he never relaxes during a game. He is always stalking up and down. And I mean, I think it's kind of hilarious that he wears a mask because like he yanks it down around his throat to yell every 2 seconds. I don't really know what good it's doing, but so I don't know if he's more animated or we're just paying more attention to it this year. Is actually what I think.
Yeah, and I thought that too. That something with the game day decor is probably making it more obvious. But I have, but I have noticed it for whatever.
I mean, let's be honest, man. He spends more time on the court than a lot of his players do. Like he is nonstop, 2-3 feet out beyond the sideline.
And something else I wanted to ask you because I've thought of this, multiple times, but tonight's as good a chance or as time as any to ask you. Recruiting. I'm fortunate. I know a couple people that know him really well that worked for him at Missouri State and think the world of him. And 2 separate people here that like as a guy that does things by the book. And, the recruiting hasn't been as good as a lot of fans would have hoped. And I know the recruiting rankings aren't very good with a lot of his classes. But is this like in a year like this, if they can go on and have a good year, whatever that is, and hopefully win a game or 2 in the tournament, is that what he needs that can maybe take the recruiting up a notch? I mean, he's never going to get like a class full of stars, but if he can maybe get that 1 star every year or every 2 years, if he shows that he can win, because we didn't get that in year 1 with Porter, even though they made the tournament because Mike didn't play. And that was supposed to be a year that was going to put Mizzou on the map and bring a lot of like exposure, and it didn't happen.
Right.
But if they can have a good year, can the recruit? I mean, it sounds obvious. Well, if they win more games, the recruiting's going to be better. But I'm talking like a big jump that shows, hey, we can do it the right way. We can win this way here.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too far in the weeds of what college basketball is. I mean, like I saw a Jeff Goodman tweet today that said, "I've said it. This is not an exact quote, but it's pretty close." Said, "I've said it again and again. Kansas just doesn't have Kansas talent this year." Well,
right. It's amazing.
Is this a coincidence,
when they play
Jeff?
by the same rules as everybody. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest about what we're talking about here, right? Arizona doesn't look very good either this year. I wonder if that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
So
Duke's average.
Yeah, and look, the media and people, we've all been a party to this, right? And we've all kind of, hey, I mean, you're kidding yourself if you've been around college basketball at all, and say, well, I've never heard of anybody getting paid. Come on, of course, we all have, and we've all kind of just whatever. That's the system. So what is it going to be going forward? Is it actually getting cleaned up, or are there just going to be different ways to cheat? Because I will say this 100%. The thing I hate most is the everybody cheats but us argument. But there are guys out there who do this the right way. And going back to the day he was hired, one of the things people told me about Cuonzo was like, look, he does it. He does it honest. He does it the right way. And I would not bring this up if I didn't fully believe it. And I wouldn't say that about every coach. Like there are Missouri coaches who I'm pretty confident have not followed every rule in the past. I mean, it seems like most of them get put on probation. So I would say most of them probably haven't. But I think Cuonzo really is one of the guys that does it the right way. And can you win that way? You can. It's hard, especially in a major conference where a lot of teams don't, but you can. So, yeah, I think you're right, Tucker. We're going to find out these next couple of years. Like, you got to find that guy, right? You got to find the guy that to make a football analogy, and it's different in basketball because one guy it's much easier to turn it around, but, like, he needs his Brad Smith. He needs the guy that like, puts him on the map. Nationally, and whether that's a 5-star kid from St. Louis or it's one of these 3-star kids coming in next year's class, honestly, probably doesn't really matter because Brad Smith wasn't a 5-star, but Brad Smith allowed him to get some 5 stars by the way he played, and that's what Cuonzo needs. I love what Jeremiah is doing this year. He's not that right now. Xavier Pinson's not that right now. This is a really good team. It's a really good story, but he needs that guy that kind of is like that really puts your program in the national spotlight. Missouri will get some attention going forward, but can this turn into Frank Haith's first team or Mike Anderson's? I think that was year 3. Can this turn into that type of team? It's possible. We'll see. And then if it does, it's up to Cuonzo to capitalize on it.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. All right. Well, Tucker, I appreciate the call, man.
Well,
thanks for sticking around and being patient.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks.
You too, buddy. All right. Phone lines are open again. We'll continue to take calls if you guys want to. It's 11 o'clock. That's all right. It's Saturday night, man. I don't have to be up till 5:40 p.m. tomorrow. So I do have an important engagement with my friend Patrick tomorrow at 5:40 p.m. But until then, I am free. So I got time. I'll take your calls. But I want to kind of roll through some of the comments in the chat. You guys have been active since we got on here over an hour ago, and we haven't really had time to catch up to any of those because we've been taking phone calls and playing video and stuff like that. So I do want to roll through and see if I've missed any questions or at least get your guys' comments up on the screen and kind of recognize. I see some new names: Brian DeBerry, Tony Hewitt, definitely guys that are new guys coming in here. Appreciate our buddies from Auburn. The Canoe Man is here, and also Pocket Watch has been here hanging out with us, tossing us a couple super chats, which I appreciate. And Canoe Man, I promise, man, I'm going to hit up JG and see if there's something we can do on Tuesday night, whether I think we'll probably each do our own post game, but if we could do a pregame thing where we both were kind of doing a live thing whether we did it on his channel and could kind of live stream it on 2 different places. I'm not sure how to do it, but we're going to check it out. Mizzou Auburn, I'm going to try to get JG to do something for Tuesday night with us. So let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to catch back up here on these on some of these questions. David Newman is asking about TCU. TCU is currently on pause. I believe they're expected to be back by Saturday because I think they have a game this week. I think they were supposed to play Kansas either Monday or Tuesday, and it got pushed back a couple days. But it's still scheduled for this week. So TCU is expected to play next week, and then we'll see where it goes from that point. Cam Cameron bringing up Kobe Brown. We've talked quite a bit about his night. I agree. 8 and 7 from Kobe. He was much better than I think even the stats said. In the second half, he played really well. I thought Kevin Rogers, top 10 team when Pinson and Drew were playing that way. Look, they have a top 10 resume. The season they've had, you can argue whether you think they're one of the 10 most talented teams in the country, and they probably aren't, if we're being honest, if we're just going sheer talent. But they have had a top 10 season. What they have put together on the floor, there are not 10 teams that have had better seasons. I mean, they're tied for the country's lead or second, maybe behind Gonzaga in quad 1 wins. They've got 4 true road wins. They're in second place in this conference. They're 10-2 overall. They got a neutral site win. They beat 3 ranked teams. There just aren't very many teams that can say they've done that. And so, heck of a season so far, certainly. Let's see. Zachary saying, is there a coincidence in tonight's win with Kobe Brown and Mitch combining for only 2 attempted threes, or was it just Pinson taking over? I mean, I think it helps that the right guys are taking shots. Now, to be fair, shots also went in. Like Xavier Pinson hasn't shot the ball well all year, and he was 3 for 3 tonight. So sometimes they go in. And Kobe Brown may not have attempted many threes, but he hit a huge one. It was 48-40, and he hit one to extend that lead to 11 that I think Demetrius mentioned when he called. So, just pick your spots. But, yeah, they don't have to shoot 23s a game, right? I said that a couple games ago. You've got to shoot enough to keep them honest, but you don't have to just nonstop jack them. Well, last week against South Carolina, they went 5 for 13. That was, what is that? It's over 35%. I don't know off the top of my head. Then tonight, 8 for 19, 42%. They're taking good shots. They're not just jacking 30 of them. All right, we're going back to the phone lines now, the 816 area code. Who am I talking with?
Hey, Gabe, it's Cameron from Lee Summit. How you doing?
Not bad. What's up, Cameron? Appreciate the call, man.
Yeah, I was just calling, I've been loving the way this team's been playing. I've been a fan my whole life. It's been a long time since they were ranked. I've just been starving for some ranked Mizzou basketball,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a question. I'm just having, a thought. And I'm loving the way this team's playing. I don't want to take anything away from that, but I just can't help but think, like, if we would have gotten, Josh Christopher or the kid from Bowling Green, Justin Turner, you put him on this team, and I think the sky would be the limit for this team. And it kind of reminded me of that Texas Tech team that went to the national title game a couple years ago. They had Culver, who was a lottery pick, and they had tough-minded guards who could make shots and defend, and their bigs were, kind of similar to ours. And following that blueprint that Coach Beard does at Texas Tech, it gives me a lot of confidence that, Cuonzo can maybe do that, and maybe we can go on a run or something like that,
Yeah, it's a good it's a good point. The missing piece on this team is a guy that's capable of knocking down 7 threes in a game, right? And it's hard not to think, what if they had Josh Christopher? Now, the flip side of that is, I think part of what's making this team good is the experience and the chemistry together. So if you have Josh Christopher and it means Mark Smith's playing less or Javon Pickett's not in the rotation. Now, look, yes, Josh Christopher is a better basketball player than those two guys probably. But I'm just saying you can't really account for the unknown of how does that change the dynamic of everything else on the team. And so while I agree in principle with what you're saying, my counter argument is, they're probably about 12th in the country and they're 10-2, so maybe they're actually really not missing anything.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, it's very easy to look out there and go, I wonder if Josh Christopher would have come here and if he'd be happier playing in the NCAA tournament than scoring a bunch at Arizona State. But also, he's probably not getting as many shots here or scoring as many points as he's getting there this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting what if, though. Appreciate the call, man.
Thank you.
All right, Cameron, thanks for calling in. Thanks to all you guys who have called in throughout the evening, and hey, we'll stick around here at least until I catch up on some of these comments. David Newman brings up a good point. When Tennessee cut the lead in the first half, Tigers kept it at 6 at halftime rather than a total meltdown, and then they did the same thing again in the second half. Agree with you guys for sure. Tennessee, there was a guy that was hurt for Tennessee, and his name is slipping my mind right now. I'm going to go back and find it. Hang on, because I retweeted it at the beginning of the game. Jaden Springer was out. He was averaging 10 points a game coming in, and certainly that had an effect. But, Santiago Vescovi he'd been really good against Missouri the first couple times they played. And he wasn't obviously great tonight. Okay, just kind of rolling through. Want to make sure we recognize Jared and Greg and everybody else that's joining us. Also want to make sure real quick while I've got a minute that we recognize one more time Burger Smokehouse. You guys go to smokehouse.com. It's a family-owned and operated business, third and fourth generation of the Burger family out of California, Missouri. It is local product. Look, I can't stress enough, guys. We've made a very conscious effort in our house in the last 10 months to support local companies, to buy local products. Like, you could go and buy, mass-produced, nationwide company meat at the grocery store, and I don't know, you might even save 50 cents or a buck, right? But Burger Smokehouse, a local business, owned and operated, families in California, Missouri, support a local business. So next time you go to the store, next time you want, just something to heat up real quick, throw in the oven, have for dinner, like give Burger Smokehouse a shot. They've got really good stuff. Rather than maybe getting something that's from one of these bigger companies that you might save 75 cents, go with the local guys. Check out Burgers. Go to smokehouse.com. All kinds of stuff. It's all really good. I promise you're not going to be disappointed. Again, the bacon is probably the highlight, probably the biggest product, but they've got a ton of other stuff that you'll enjoy. So check them out. Give them a chance. Because they do make kind of all this possible. And look, this has been we've had 150 people online most of the night tonight. We're dipping a little bit now because it is 11:15, and some of you guys might actually, want to go to bed or whatever. But we've had a lot of people on here. This stuff doesn't happen without our sponsors, so please do want to ask you to help them out and do what you can. So, all right, now get back to moving through the comments here. T-Rise, you've been with us a lot this year. Let's see. Little love for Jesse Newell from Lucas. He might put him on the ballot. I don't know. I hope he commits to the bit though, and I hope he commits to the bit and just doesn't rank them all season long. That'd be pretty amusing. Let's see. I feel like I'm way behind on these comments, guys. So I do certainly appreciate you guys making sure to keep the chat active throughout the night. There's obviously no way we can keep up with all of them, obviously, but I certainly appreciate everybody hanging out with us and being here for this game. Again, first win on the road. Hey, let's go back to the phone lines. We're about to try to wrap up, but we got a call from the 901. Who we talking to?
Gabe, how's it going? It's Jonah.
What's up, Jonah? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for putting on a great show. I loved the product on the court tonight. I'm excited. The team looks great. But we've been talking about basketball for an hour now. We haven't talked about anything football related. I'm kind of surprised it hadn't come up, but Steve Wilks hadn't come up. What do you think about it? I'm thrilled about it. If you got a minute, curious what you think. I know we've probably got a lot of football folks on here too, so not meaning to change the subject, but man, I'm curious what you think about Steve Wilks.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, it kind of came out of left field for me. I'd heard he might be looking at the NFL, but I just couldn't find anybody in the NFL that I thought, well, hey, this makes sense, and they'd take the job and all that. So I think it's I like it. It's outside the box. He's older, he's experienced, he's going to command respect, but he's not old, right? I mean, 51 is not super old. He's got 25 years of coaching experience. He's only 51. He's coached at every level. He's done the college thing before, so it's not obviously the first time. If you're recruiting, it should be a pretty good recruiting pitch to kids to say, look, I've been a head coach in the National Football League. I know what it takes to get you there. I know what they look for. I know what's involved. I can help you out on that. It checks all the boxes. I like it on the surface. Now, I haven't talked to the guy. We're gonna talk to him for the first time on Monday. I'll be interested to see what he's like. But on the surface, I think it's a pretty good hire. And I guess at this point, Eli Drinkwitz has kind of earned the benefit of the doubt because most of the things he's done since he got to town seem to have been right.
Yeah, I'm super pumped about it. And you got to think that somebody like Steve Wilks has been in the NFL for 15 years. He's going to his connections. He's going to his contacts and saying, look, I need a new start. This guy, Eli Drinkwitz, who was at App State, he had that connection there. Do I jump to college at a program like Missouri? And people have got to be telling him good things. So I think he probably thinks really highly of Drink, especially knowing him and following him at App State. I think the NFL folks are telling him good things. So I'm pumped about it. And bringing that in on on the defensive side of the ball. You know, we needed a change with X's and O's, and you got to think that somebody that was tapped for an NFL head coaching job. I mean, this guy is going to be sharp. And not saying that Walters wasn't, but the experience just has to be huge for the X's and O's perspective. And then put him in a living room, NFL experience. I mean, come on, I was thrilled about it. So I'm glad that you're also, you know, pretty excited about it, and just kind of wanted to talk about it. You know me, big football guy.
Appreciate it, man.
But excited about the basketball win too.
All right, Jonah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for hanging out with us and staying up late, man. Good to hear from you. We'll talk.
Absolutely. Talk to you.
All right, bud. Have a good one. Want to thank Breakfast King there. He's been with us all through football season, all through basketball season. Thanks for the super chat. Good Mizzou basketball makes him happy. Hey, if the Breakfast King is happy, we all are happy, right? If the Breakfast King is here and is happy, we're all in a good mood, and no reason not to be in a good mood after this one, guys. I mean, biggest win in a long time. Certainly, huge conference win, second place in the SEC, big game Tuesday night at Auburn. I'm really interested to see. Our friends Canoe Man and Pocket Watch can tell you. I mean, Sharif Cooper's got that thing turned around. He had 11 assists at halftime tonight. He's got them playing really well. That's a tough game. I came into this 2-game stretch at Tennessee, at Auburn, saying if Missouri could go 1-1, you're happy. Well, they've got their one. So we'll see what happens Tuesday night. You're a little bit playing with house money. We're going back to the 314. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, hey, this is Benny from Webster Grove.
What's up, Benny? How you doing, man?
Doing quite well tonight. Thank you very much.
Good deal. Glad to hear it. What's on your mind?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit. So first off, thanks for doing this. I know you probably got to pee, man.
No, I'm
I know
good.
I've gone like twice since we've been.
I've only had a glass of water, so I'm set, man.
Oh, you're doing better than I am then. So if you looked at the schedule coming up here, this was the game where you kind of thought, you know, we probably weren't going to win this one, but
right.
Let's look at the next few games and see where they're going to pull off some wins. Now looking at the schedule, they've won this game obviously, and that was the team that a lot of people were saying, well, Tennessee does really well. They're very good at taking away what Mizzou does pretty well, which is the 2-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you shoot like we did from 3 tonight, you take the limited numbers, you're going to be okay. But seriously, what are we looking at for the next couple games here?
Yeah.
Who do you? Yeah. Where do you think we're looking at here?
Well, Auburn concerns me a little bit more than I think it probably concerns most people watching here, because Auburn's been playing well lately, coming off a huge emotional kind of put everything you had into it win at Tennessee. Team's going to fly home. They probably got home here pretty recently, or will get home in the next hour or so. They'll take Sunday off, but then Monday afternoon they're going to fly right back out to Auburn. So that's a lot of travel. That's not easy. If they win that game, I'll be really impressed. Come home next weekend, you should beat TCU. Then the next game is Kentucky at home. Like, you should win that, I think. I mean, Kentucky, but Kentucky on any given night is good enough to beat anybody in this league. They just haven't put anything together. But I think you could lose either Auburn or Kentucky. You'd certainly like to win at least one of them. And then February 6th, Alabama's in town, and who knows, at that point, like, they might be 11-0, but take your shot. I mean, Missouri might be the second best team in this league. So, we're just what's today? The 22nd. We're 2 weeks. I guess it's 2 weeks from today. That game is at Mizzou Arena, so that could be a pretty big one. But yeah, the next 4 or 5 games, because after that, at Ole Miss and home against Arkansas. We came into this 7-game stretch that started with Tennessee, and I said, if you could find a way to be 4-3, you'd be all right with that. 5-2, you'd be thrilled. And this is one I was pretty sure was a loss. So now you're looking at, you hope to get through this stretch 5-2, maybe. hey, maybe if everything goes really well, you can go 6-1. And if you go 6-1 over this stretch, then you're going to start talking about pretty high seeding and pretty exciting stuff in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'll tell you though, when I was talking to my dad about this earlier tonight, the only way I get to see him now during COVID times is talking about Mizzou basketball, which is a great thing that we have. It was right after that Bradley game, so kind of going into that, you just didn't feel good. I felt so much better coming into this game, and now, like, when I look ahead, the Alabama game just scares the heck out of me, I'll just say. Not being able to – I understand that we're really good against the three-point shooting, but at some point, I don't know. I feel like guys are just missing, and there's a little bit of luck there. It's kind of like the
there's
field goal defense on the free throw line a little bit.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there.
The problem with Alabama too is it's not the percentage that they shoot; it's just that they shoot so many of them. You know that they're probably going to make 15 because they shoot so many of them. So I mean,
Right.
it's a little bit like playing the Chiefs. Like you're not going to beat them by 17-14. Like you're going to have to go score with them a little bit. So Missouri's going to have to score with Alabama a little bit. You're probably not beating Alabama 61-58. You're going to have to get up in the 70s at least.
I hear you, but this is the team that I think can do it.
Yeah.
I still love that quote from Cuonzo the other night about feeling bad for the fans putting up with this stuff for years now. So
Yeah.
anyway,
why
thanks
did
a lot,
I coach
man.
like that? All right, man. Well, I appreciate the call. Thanks a lot for sticking up.
Really appreciate it.
All right. Have a
All
good
right,
night.
bye.
All right. So, and again, hey, we're kind of slowing down and wrapping up. But if you're out there and there's something on your mind, feel free to call in. No worries. Do want to run through real quick. We've had the Mizzou stuff scrolling across the bottom most of the show, but I'm going to put up the other SEC scores today. We'll run through them real quick. Like we've talked about, Auburn just destroyed South Carolina, 109 points, most Auburn scored in the SEC in a long time, maybe ever. Arkansas, 21 points better than Vanderbilt. Arkansas hadn't been very good lately. Vanderbilt's just not good. Florida put up 92 and beat Georgia. Not a surprise. Ole Miss won 3 in a row, but Texas A&M just can't score at all. Alabama beat Mississippi State. They're 8-0 in the league, and Kentucky beat LSU 2 weeks ago. Even a week ago, LSU was looking like this crazy team, and now they've taken it on the chin 2 games in a row. So, look, this thing can turn around. Tuesday night against Auburn, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think Cuonzo's got his work cut out for him the next 2 days, getting this team kind of back down on the ground and focus for an Auburn team that is playing a lot better basketball than it was a month ago. And I think Bruce Pearl's a heck of a coach. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But once again, Missouri 73-64 in Knoxville. Xavier Pinson season high 27, Drew Smith 18-4, Kobe Brown big in the second half, Jeremiah Tillman some good defense. I thought Javon Pickett tossed in a few timely baskets. Mitchell Smith played some nice defense. They've got a 7 or 8 man rotation here, and it's very well defined. And Cuonzo trusts his guys, and they're playing better than they've played in a while. And I'm going to end this kind of the way we started it, like we were talking about at the beginning. It's isn't about next year. It's isn't about a referendum on Cuonzo Martin every night. This is about you've got a team that has a chance to be the first one to win an NCAA tournament game in 11 years, guys. It's been over a decade. Like I had some hair the last time they did that. Not a lot, but I did have a little bit. So don't miss this season being worried about what's down the road. Enjoy this season, and because it's not guaranteed. You don't know when you're going to get another team that you like, that gives you some joy, that gives you some good games to watch, some fun. So enjoy this team this year, and worry about the rest of the stuff later. It's too short. So Tuesday night they're back in action. So we will certainly do that. Like I said, I'm going to try to hit up JG Tate and see if we can manage to cross streams. That sounds a little weird, but but we might see what we can do. But Tuesday night at Auburn, I can't remember. I think that's 6:30 game. So we'll be with you an hour before tip-off, 5:30, and then check it out post-game. Hopefully it's another good one like tonight, which has you guys wanting to talk about it and enjoying it, and hey, maybe even tossing $1 or $2 our way, like T-Rise. Thanks, man, for the super chat. Appreciate you being with us all throughout football season, all throughout basketball season so far. Appreciate, before you leave, just, hey, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You'll get notifications when we go live. We'll be back Tuesday night. We'll be back Wednesday night. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we'll do it again. How's that sound?